Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. In today's video, I'm going to be creating some vintage Christmas canisters. For my projects today, I'm going to be using these cream canisters that I thrifted. They are made from metal, they're in really good shape, but I'm going to be giving them a Christmas makeover. I first primed them with a spray sealer and then I took out Roycycled blue Tartan decoupage paper. Now this is from last year's release and I just never really found a project that I wanted to use it on. I definitely wanted to be able to do it justice. So right here I'm just working out exactly how much of the paper I'm going to need. I've got it laid on my canister there. I'm not going to be adding any other paint. I love the cream color of the canister. I think it goes perfectly with the decoupage paper, and then I am going to trim it out. I'm also going to be leaving the little lip around the bottom. I like that detail, and so now I'm just going to cut that paper to size. I do like to leave about 1/2 centimeter to 1 centimeter extra just in case I haven't quite measured properly. I'm going to be using the straight side, not the side that I cut. I'm going to be using the straight side to go around the bottom so that I can be sure that I get everything straight. I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Decoupage Medium in Matte today, and I'm going to be laying down a nice even coat. Remember, as I said, I have already primed this with a clear spray sealer, and I didn't want to add paint underneath because the more paint you add, the more trouble you're going to have getting that lid on because it gets to be a thicker surface. So now I'm going to lay my decoupage paper down. I'm using a ball of cling wrap to smooth out any of those wrinkles. Sometimes you may see me lift up the decoupage paper and reposition this. You can definitely do this, you've just got to be gentle. And I'm just smoothing that out, and once I'm happy with that, I'm going to apply some more of that decoupage medium on the other side so that we can have that paper wrapping around the edge. Once I have enough product down, I'm going to pull the decoupage paper around and then use that cling wrap to further smooth it out. I'm then going to be flipping the canister over so that I can continue to work my way around, decoupaging that design down. And I found that the decoupage paper was opaque enough that I didn't have to worry about that little black box that you would have seen in the video at the beginning showing what the canisters look like before. And I was really happy that I was able to keep the canister that lovely cream tone. I think it goes perfectly with the blue tartan paper. Here I could see the paper was starting to sort of pucker up and it wasn't sitting nice, so I grabbed my mister and I'm just misting the edges. Just keep that in mind that you can do that. Sometimes the paper will get a little bit more wrinkled when part of it is wet and part of it is dry, so misting it can help that paper to relax and smooth out. Finally, after I'd finished this side, I turned it over and I'm going to trim off the excess paper that I don't need. I am going to have the decoupage paper overlap a little bit with the section that we started with. I did try and trim it neatly. And then I'm going to lay down some more product and I'm going to go over the top of the decoupage paper that I already have down. And then I'm going to start smoothing that all in place. Once I was finished with that first canister, I did just repeat the same process on the other one. You can see I've sped that up. You don't need to see me go through that slowly. I think you definitely get the idea on how you could approach a similar shaped canister if you are wanting to do decoupage. So as you can see, I sped that all up. And you'll notice that I do have excess paper hanging over the edge. I never remove the excess until my decoupage is completely dry. My next canister was a little bit more challenging. That was the round design. So right here you can see I'm laying down an even coat. I am just working a section at a time, just like I did with the more square shaped canisters. I'm going to have to have items either side of my canister as well, because as you can see, it is sort of rolling about. And then I started to place my decoupage paper down, but immediately I knew that this was going to be a bit of a wrinkled mess. So I grabbed up my mister and I applied quite a bit of water. Again, this is going to help that paper to stretch. And then you can see I sort of repositioned it a few times until I had it where I wanted, and then I started smoothing it out with the cling wrap. Now, because of the shape of the canister, I am going to have the decoupage paper overlapping a bit in certain areas around the bottom. Just as you're going around a round surface, sometimes you can get a bit of a gap. Now you can see the little slogan that was already on the canister underneath. Now that's really obvious because the paper is wet, so it's going to be more translucent. As it dried, it became a lot less obvious, but I knew I was going to go with a larger transfer design on this one that would cover up that writing anyway. And again, I don't want to add extra layers of paint. Any extra layers I add will make this thicker, and it will make it harder for the canister lid to go over the top. So I just sort of had to keep that in mind as I was working around. Now, unfortunately, you're about to see me accidentally tear my paper. The paper is wet, it is very fragile, and I was a little bit too rough with it as I was pulling it down. So I did get a little bit of a tear there, but I was able to smooth that back down. And a little bit later, I'm going to show you how I was able to disguise that. So I've come back around to where we started. I'm going to trim off the excess. This didn't line up exactly perfectly, but I was pretty happy with it. I didn't think it was too far off. So I'm laying down my final amount of product there, overlapping it on top of the decoupage we already have, and then smoothing it down. I let the canisters dry for several hours, and then I came in with some 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm going over the top of the edge of the canister in a downward motion to remove the excess. Now, this particular section is going to be hidden underneath the lid, so I wasn't too worried about how it looked. I just wanted it to be neat and tidy and to remove that excess. Despite leaving these to dry for quite some time, unfortunately when I came in and tried to remove some of the excess paper from around the bottom where I'd overlapped it on the round one, I did get some tears, and honestly I was really disappointed in myself. I was trying to get this done, and unfortunately the humidity had really affected how it was drying. It was perfectly dry in some areas, and in other areas I got tears, but we're just going to go with it. I then came in with another coat of the decoupage medium once I'd removed all the excess so that I could seal it all in. So as I said, I did have a few little areas that I wasn't happy with, especially on the round one. There's a few little tears, but I'm going to show you at the end how I managed to fix that. So you can see here, I do have a few tears, and I probably could have left it. It might have added to that vintage look, but I'm going to show you how I disguised that at the end. I'm going to be using IOD's new Kitschy Christmas Transfer. So here I'm just giving you a look at what is included in the pack. This is full of beautiful vintage retro Christmas designs, and I felt like it went perfectly with the tartan paper that we are using today, all those beautiful bright colors. And I'm also going to be using IOD's new Tinsel Gilded Transfer. This is full of beautiful gold designs, and I'm going to be using a couple of the beautiful text designs that they've included in this one, and a couple of the smaller snowflakes a little bit later on. I really loved the idea of the gold contrasted over the top of the beautiful blue tartan paper. For my first canister, I'm going to be cutting out this beautiful little leaping deer. It's got sweet little antlers with some what appears to be perhaps holly leaves. And I'm just going to trim off the excess images, and I'm going to, of course, save those for later. I'm just having a look here at how much room I'm going to have, and then I decided to grab out some of the text I was talking about before, and I'm going to cut out the word joy from the Tinsel Transfer. I'm going to begin with the deer, however, though, and again, just working out where I want it to go. So I put the lid on to make sure that I didn't accidentally have part of the deer hidden underneath where the lid would go when it was on. I then peeled the backing off the transfer, and I'm going to position it in place. Again, like I said before, my paper did not dry as well as I had hoped. It was dry in some areas and not dry in others, so I did have a few little challenging moments here where I was a little bit worried I'd ruin the transfer, but I found that I was able to just use my hairdryer to dry it with the transfer in place, and I was able to get it to release. So if you come across this problem, you miscalculate like I did, let it dry completely naturally if you like, or I found using my hairdryer really helped me to get that transfer to release. Next, I'm going to be using the word joy from the Tinsel Transfer. I'm positioning that underneath the deer. And with these, you really just want to focus the pressure as you're rubbing on the areas that you want to transfer, because sometimes if you press hard enough, some of that gold in the background is going to come off as well. I then started to lift the transfer up, just again lightly rubbing, just making sure that the letters had released. If not, I've applied a little bit more pressure, but you really don't want to press too hard. You will distort your image, you'll get gold where you don't want it to go. But I found that these worked really well if I just used a lighter pressure, plus I have already sealed this surface. Now you may notice a little bit of a halo around our deer. Don't worry, once I came in with the satin Extreme Guard top coat by Paint Couture and I went over the top of it, that disappeared. Again, that was just because we had some of those issues with certain areas of the decoupage being drier than others, and thankfully the clear coat does hide those. I didn't see them once I'd sealed everything. I definitely recommend that you use a satin or a gloss if you are going to be using the Tinsel Transfer so that you can maintain that beautiful luster. And here's our first finished canister. I love how this turned out. The Kitschy Christmas Transfer and the Tinsel Transfer goes perfectly with the Roycycled Tartan Decoupage paper. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. For my second canister, I decided to keep with the deer theme, and I'm going to pick this other little one. I believe it could be a doe because it does not have the antlers, and I am going to trim off all that other excess transfer and see how I like it sitting on there. I then decided that I was going to use some more of the text. I really liked the word Noel, and I'm going to trim that to size and just do a bit of a double check here that it's all going to fit. I then took the lid and put that on top just like we did with the first one to make sure that we aren't going to be hiding any of the beautiful transfer, and then I'm going to be peeling the backing off, and just like before I'm going to press that down, and then I'm going to use the transfer stick to rub over the top of the whole design. I had the same issues with this one, just wasn't my day for transfers, but in the end of course I did manage to get it all to work just by using that hairdryer and just really taking my time. I think in future I will be doing the decoupage on one day and the transfers on another, just to be completely sure that everything is dry. Once I had the deer down, I took out the Noel transfer from the Tinsel Transfer, and again just focusing my rubbing pressure on the text itself, and then I'm starting to lift that design up. I then sealed that all in with Paint Couture's Extreme Guard in satin. And here's our second finished canister. Again, this is such a lovely retro combination. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. For the round canister, I decided that I would cut out the Good Tidings design from the Kitschy Christmas Transfer, and that's going to go over the top of the section where you could faintly see some of that original design peeking through. So I already have some things either side of the canister to hold it in place, and I'm also going to position the transfer over the top of one of the little tears that I had, and it's going to hide that really well. So I'm going to go over the top of the entire design, rubbing that all down, making sure it's all stuck in place. And I did work in sections here, had a few little areas that were a little bit stubborn, but in the end, I did manage to get that all down. And I just really love this one. I like the variation of having the larger text design in this little canister set. And then once I had it all down, I did seal that with the Satin Extreme Guard. I wanted to get that all sealed in, and then I decided that I would go in and touch up those areas where I had accidentally torn the paper. I'm just using Paint Couture's Pitch Black chalk paint. And I'm going around the bottom, and if I get any on the areas that have the cream tone, I'm just using a wet wipe to wipe that back quickly, because we do have that gloss spray sealer on there, so if I don't remove that, it is going to get stuck on there. So I'm just making sure that as I'm going along, I am removing any of that black paint that goes over the cream section. And as you can see, that black is doing a pretty good job of disguising some of the areas where I had those mishaps with the decoupage paper ripping. So I'm just going to continue to work my way around, and you could have probably have used also maybe a dark navy, but there was already black elements in the tartan design, and honestly I felt like this did a really good job of disguising those mistakes. So once I was finished applying the pitch black over the top of everything and that was completely dry, I did seal that in so that it was all sealed and the same sheen. I then decided that I wanted to bring in some of that gold, and I cut out the beautiful snowflakes, the smaller snowflake designs from the Tinsel Transfer. I'm then going to cut them up separately because we're going to arrange them around the Good Tidings design. So I'm going to peel the backing off, and then I'm going to press down. And again, just like I said before, just really focusing that pressure on the design itself and then lifting it up. And if I miss an area, I can just reposition it and do a little bit more rubbing and get that worked out. And I love this pop of gold. I think it ties in with the other canisters. It definitely makes it feel like a bit more of a cohesive set. And again, really Christmas is all about adding gold in my opinion. I love that shine, and these finish this project off perfectly. Once I'd finished adding all of the snowflakes, I did go in one more time with another coat of that Satin Extreme Guard top coat to seal everything in. And here's a look at our finished round canister. This round canister was definitely a bit more challenging than the others, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video and that it's given you some ideas on how you can use decoupage paper and transfers to transform those tired metal canisters that you have lying around the house. Let me know if you had a favorite project from today. If you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment, and share it out. If you haven't already, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find the products used today on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.